Welcome, everyone. This is your SALTovation team. I'm Tram, Lee, Meredith Smith, Alex Corjan, and Stacy Roberts. And today we kind of want to kick around this topic of voluntary disclosure agreements and some things we're seeing in terms of what states are doing, such as Alabama. We've made some new discoveries as to some of the obstacles and challenges that we're seeing in applying for a voluntary disclosure. So, Stacy, I don't know if you want to kick it off
Yeah,
since you're the
yeah. I know. I think I was
discoverer.
the one. Yeah, I think I was the one in our team that maybe discovered this first. And not to say that Alabama may not have put out some guidance on this and or just an, a heads up about it, but I was not aware of it. I don't think our team was aware of it, but I think it happened in August of 2023 this year, and where they went through a change in their voluntary disclosure application process, kind of as it's turning out, maybe just like totally total revamp, to be honest. So if anybody's familiar with the old process, they had a separate VDA portal that you would have a login. You'd have login credentials for, and go in, and then you would apply for the VDA through there, and you'd manage all the VDA milestones, due dates, documentation, etc., through that portal. Well, then this past August, they were going to do away with that VDA, that separate VDA portal, and everything was going to go through My Alabama Taxes, which is their online portal for businesses to go in and file sales tax returns, manage their account, etc. So what I did was I went in and I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and create a My Alabama tax account and see if I can go ahead and get a voluntary disclosure submitted that way. Well, as it turns out, since we were a firm, and so other firms might experience this as well, you have to apply for a separate bulk filer account number, basically. And I was curious about that because we as a firm also file income tax returns through the system, through our system. So we're already technically a bulk filer. But when I called the state, they said, no, that doesn't count. So you are going to have to file this separate registration for the firm to become an agent for purposes of filing voluntary disclosures and going through this process through the My Alabama Taxes. So fine and well is a very quick form, but for the fact that you have to fax it in, old school fax, wait for them to send you the account information via snail mail. So it took probably about 30 days to get that back from the state. So that just adds more time to a process that you're trying to get on top of a taxpayer who's trying to become compliant. You're trying to get into the queue. So that just added more time. And then as it turns out, what they've also done is, now we have the account. Now we're considered an agent. So that's what firms should be on the lookout for, is that once you get this account number, you become an agent, and that's how then you are able to log in. And then you have the ability through the My Alabama Taxes to manage several different accounts, voluntary disclosure accounts, nexus questionnaires, etc. It's really important to make sure that you're doing the drop down that is agent, because the credentials that you get from the state are very specific to an agent. So that's one piece. But then once you get in there, the other thing that Alabama did was change even the initial step to get into a voluntary disclosure program. So what they need now first is a nexus determination letter for taxpayers to receive those before they can even be able to apply for a voluntary disclosure. So that also adds more time, right? Because what happens is you go in, you fill out the voluntary disclosure form through My Alabama Taxes. It's a very specific form, has multiple tabs, not a lot of flexibility on this form at all. It's a lot of yeses and nos, put in specific dates. So, and as we all know, sometimes our clients' facts do not fit neat into a little box. So that's one issue that's a little troubling, and or just something that you have to wrestle through in order to get the voluntary disclosure, or I'm sorry, the nexus determination request done, then you submit that to the state and then you wait. And it can take up to 30 days to get that nexus determination before then you can actually apply for the voluntary disclosure. So a complete revamp of kind of their procedures, and I would say adding more steps and more time to the process, because as we all know, once a taxpayer is actually into the queue for a voluntary disclosure, that's great, because if they were to receive a notice from the state, then you can say, okay, sorry, state, yes, understand that we may have an issue, but we're in the queue to cure that issue because we're in the queue for the voluntary disclosure. Well, now with Alabama, you're having to go through a few steps before you can even enter that queue. The nexus determination or the nexus questionnaire can be filled out anonymously, which is great. But again, just cautioning that there are some questions on it that, again, they're trying to put taxpayers into a little box. I think they don't have a lot of flexibility on the form. And I mean, as we all know, that there's a lot of registrations and other forms that states have that don't provide a lot of flexibility. And so then you're forced to kind of answer these questions a specific way, and hope that it doesn't create some kind of issue at the state level further down the road. But suffice to say that this is kind of it's a total change in their process. And so just want to caution everybody that it's not so easy to just, send that voluntary disclosure application in like it used to be for Alabama.
Well, then, Stacy, and also the other challenge I think we've experienced already is where we have a client with kind of the M&A situation where either they've acquired or they've merged into another entity. And answering those questions isn't super easy because the yes no may not be applicable. So, again, kind of to your point about having to put the client into a certain box where it doesn't fit their facts is very, I think it's frustrating. And again, because this is a new process, we're not quite sure, by answering a yes or a no, even though it's a maybe, or it's a, yes before and no, not after the transaction. I think, kind of seeing how the state responds to, the Nexus questionnaire, or how we answer, a lot of the yes, no questions, how they respond to that will be kind of interesting, I think, moving
Yes.
forward.
Yeah. And that remains to be seen. I mean, we've submitted a couple nexus determination letters or requests rather. And so we'll see how the state comes back. And maybe we can do another update on our SALTovation for the, step two as to what Alabama may do with these nexus determinations and how generous or not they are with those. Not, I'm not sure at this point if they're going to send us, some clarifying questions like some states do. Some people might be familiar with the New Jersey fact pattern form. I feel like that's also a form that's very kind of trying to put you into a box, but for the fact that you could actually add some commentary to it. And New Jersey is usually pretty good about asking questions. So we'll see if Alabama starts to ask some questions.
Yeah, no, I think we'll just have to wait and see and provide updates as we see them. So,
Yeah, and I think the moral of the story here is that we know that these programs are kind of, administrative in nature, and so the states are free to change them. And we're obviously seeing that Alabama took advantage of that.
yep, absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for joining. I think this was an important conversation, and we'll be sure to keep everyone posted.